Hey, welcome to Classic Guitar Rock. I'm Jeremy, and I wanted to pontificate a little today on what I think is the greatest Southern rock album ever. And let's back up a little bit and talk about Southern rock, because Southern rock is a it's an interesting subcategory of the rock and roll field, and I might have some opinions that maybe differ from you or from the mainstream, but in my mind, if when you talk about Southern rock, what's the first band you think of? Did you say Leonard Skinner? I think for most folks, it's probably Leonard Skinner. And then you've got the Allman Brothers, right? Then you've got Molly Hatchet, Marshall Tucker, the Outlaws. Those are maybe the big ones I think of for Southern rock. And then you've got like 38 Special, which is definitely kind of rode on the tail end of that. Then you got ZZ Top. Where do you put ZZ Top? Are they Southern rock? They're in Texas. I personally, and let me just throw this right out there, Tres Hombres by ZZ Top is one of the greatest albums of all time. One of my favorite albums. But I don't really think of ZZ Top as a Southern rock band. And I don't know why that is, because they're from the South. But when I think of Southern rock, I'm thinking of, maybe we should call it Southeastern rock, right? We're talking Florida, Georgia, Mississippi. Okay, Charlie Daniels Band, that's Tennessee. Are they Southern rock? They'd probably be Southern rock, kind of more on the countryside. Anyways, we've got this hierarchy of Southern rock, right? Leonard Skinner, the Allman Brothers, that have over the years, you know, Leonard Skinner especially, we think of Southern rock, that's who you think of. Leonard Skinner had some great stuff. Allman Brothers had some great stuff. Marshall Tucker, the Outlaws, they all had great stuff. But for my money, I think the single greatest Southern rock album, drum roll please, is this dude right here, the first Molly Hatchet album. And this came out in 1978. It's called Molly Hatchet, right? Produced by Tom Werman. So this is the guy that produced Cheap Trick, Ted Nugent. And just kind of a funny story, you might relate to this. 78 was, I turned 11 in 1978. So it was really this time frame, 78 to 80, when I really started getting into music and was really starting to buy my first records. You don't want to know the very first album I bought with my own money. I'll tell you, very first album I bought with my own money was The Village People. Yes, The Village People was my first record. My camera froze as soon as I said Village People. Did you see that? Anyways, we'll never speak of that again. But at this time, right, this was when I was really coming to age as a music fan, starting to buy my first records. And I can remember, I mean, I still have memories of going to the record store and seeing this album. And then, you know, not long after that, seeing this album, right? And then not long after that, seeing this album. And I thought, wow, this is like Conan the Barbarian Band. I just thought the album covers, you know, as you can imagine, a 12-year-old boy would think these are pretty cool, right? And I didn't know what the music was about. I turned around and looked at it. I said, well, they don't look anything like Conan the Barbarian. Well, they do have long hair, right? But I just remember kind of being fascinated by it just based on the album cover. And then I had a chance in 1983. So by this time I'm like a sophomore in high school, and I had a chance to see a show with Cheap Trick and Molly Hatchet on the same bill in Lawton, Oklahoma. And first of all, I was a little disappointed because when the guys came out, they didn't look anything like Conan the Barbarian. They all kind of had beer bellies and mullets and stuff. But anyways, they were really good. I really dug it. And so over the years, I've just kind of had a soft spot for Molly Hatchet. And I've recently, over the last few months, just kind of been digging out my old records and listening to them again. And guys, if you don't have a Molly Hatchet album or aren't familiar with them, this is the album to get. And every single song, I would say there's only one song on here that I wouldn't say is a killer song. And it's not a bad song, it's just not a killer song. And that song is, in my opinion, Cheatin' Woman. It's okay. I mean, it's a rock song, right? But man, side one of this album all the way through, Bounty Hunter, Gator Country, Big Apple, The Creeper, The Price You Pay. Man, you can't, this is one of the best sides of an album, in my opinion. And then side two, perhaps the best song on the album, is a song called Dreams I'll Never See. Junk, 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 junk. You maybe heard it on the radio. It's actually a remake of the Allman Brothers tune called Dreams. I like the Allman Brothers, but the Molly Hatchet version kicks the snot out of the Allman Brothers version. The Allman Brothers version kind of sucks, but this version is phenomenal. Molly Hatchet had 3 guitar players, right? And they're all like stuntmen, right? I mean, they are like, there's 3 different guitar parts go on. They do, if you like the whole Leonard Skinner twin guitar solo stuff, you'll love Molly Hatchet, only it's even better, I think, my personal opinion. Forgot to mention Blackfoot too. Blackfoot's pretty dang good. Blackfoot is like a heavy metal version of Molly Hatchet. I prefer Molly Hatchet, though Blackfoot's really good too. But if you've never really scratched the surface of Southern rock, this is a good place to start. And one of the things that is maybe off-putting to some, but enduring to me, is Danny Joe Brown, who was the singer. I mean, Danny Joe Brown, he's this guy, okay? He's wearing a shirt that says Redneck Power. Okay, so you know what you're getting here. He's got a very, well, he sounds like a redneck, right? But it's perfect for what they play. And just a little history on the band. They've been around since like 1971. So Dave Flubeck, is that how you pronounce it? Dave Flubeck is the kind of the founding member. They've been around forever. First album came out in '78, and Danny Joe Brown sings on the first album, and let's see, and the second album. Okay, there he is on the far right. Sings on the second album. The second album, by the way, is a good album too. Flirting with Disaster. I'm sure you've heard that song. It's a good album. It's a good album too. I prefer the first one. Second one's pretty good. Then by the third album, so this is probably what, 81? Let me look at the year here. 80. So in 1980, their third album comes out, Beating the Odds. That may be one you've heard on classic rock radio also. Again, it's got the Conan motif. They got a new lead singer at this point named Jimmy Farrar. He's a good singer. I mean, from a technical standpoint, probably a better singer than Danny, but it's just not the same. It became kind of more generic rock at that point. They still had some Southern rock underpinnings, but it was getting more mainstream rock. And so they did this album. I can't remember they did 2 albums with Jimmy Farrar, and then Danny Joe Brown came back. And when he came back, they kind of went back to more of their Southern rock thing, which I think worked better for them. And Molly Hatchet is one of these bands that's probably still touring with no original members. I mean, there's probably been 20 members in the band over the years. And as I've listened to some of their later stuff, live albums or whatever, it's just kind of bland, and it doesn't sound bad, but it's not special, right? So what's my point? My point is, go buy this album today. I like vinyl, right? I'm a fan of vinyl, but if you can find a CD of it or listen on Spotify or whatever, but man, check out this entire album. Play it front to back. Tell me if I'm crazy, but I like it. I dig it more than Skinnerd. I dig it more than the Allman Brothers. I dig it more than 38 Special. It's just a great album. And if you're not a fan of Southern rock, this is a good gateway album. I mean, it's Southern rock, but it's not so, you know, if you play Marshall Tucker Band or the Outlaws to someone who's not a fan of country music, they're going to tell you this sounds like country, and it kind of does, right? And it's good stuff too. But this has got kind of the nod to some country sounding stuff, but it's definitely rock and roll and just some tasty guitar playing. Jams, right? The band's super tight. It's just it's fun stuff. So that's your assignment, guys. Check out this first Molly Hatchet album. Let me know what you think. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do so. Thanks, and we'll see you later.